listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me, non-judgmental talk about infidelity with Dr. Marie Murphy. If you're looking for new perspectives on complicated relationship issues, you've come to the right place.
Days go by, they're crawling by.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Marie Murphy. I'm a relationship coach, and I help people who are engaging in anything they think counts as infidelity to deal with their feelings, clarify what they want, and make decisions about what they're going to do. No shame, no blame, no judgments. If you're ready to resolve your infidelity situation in a way that's truly right for you, I can help you do it. When you're ready to get to work, go to the services page of my website, mariemurphyphd.com/services, to begin our work together. And on the subject of us working together, I've never talked all that much on the podcast about what it's like to work with me, but today I'm going to do that. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I've been doing one-on-one coaching for years, and you know that I recently started offering 2 new ways to work with me as your coach. And so today I'm going to talk about each of these 3 ways we can work together in a little more detail and tell you why you might want to choose one of these options over another if you're interested in getting help with your infidelity situation. But before I do that, I'm going to spell out a few things about my philosophy and my orientation to infidelity. And you may be well familiar with these philosophies and orientations of mine if you've been listening to me talk for a while, but if you're new to my world, this is really important for you to know. First and foremost, infidelity can mean a lot of different things. On this podcast, I tend to refer to a rather narrow range of examples of types of infidelity situations or what might be happening within an infidelity situation. So for instance, I often talk about people who are married getting involved with someone other than their spouse and having or engaging in what we often think of as an affair. And one of the reasons I use those sorts of examples as often as I do is because these are really common situations. But infidelity comes in many different shapes and sizes and flavors and colors and varieties. If you think of what you are doing as cheating or as infidelity, I can help you figure out what you want to do about that. Secondly, I don't think of infidelity as this big, terrible thing. The behaviors that we may think count as cheating or may count as infidelity are actually neutral until we give them meaning. The behaviors that we think count as cheating do not have inherent meaning to them. Now, a lot of people have decided to make the behaviors that we think count as cheating. And a lot of people have decided that cheating is very bad. And these collective understandings of what cheating is and what it means and how bad it is become things that we all then have to contend with. And this may sound like a contradiction, but it's not. It's actually a paradox. Even though we don't have to think of infidelity as a really bad thing, it's okay to not like infidelity. It's okay to not like it if you are cheating or to not want to keep on engaging in infidelity if that's what you're doing. A lot of my clients, not all of them, but many of them, really don't want to keep on doing what they're doing infidelity-wise forever because they find engaging in infidelity to be less than ideal for all kinds of reasons. That said, plenty of my clients have every intention of continuing to do whatever they are doing in the infidelity department, and that's fine too. But I digress. The big point that I want to make here is that if we're cheating and we want to stop cheating, we have to achieve a delicate balance. It's fair for us to acknowledge to ourselves, hey, I don't like this thing that I'm doing, and my goal is to figure out how to reorganize my life so that I'm no longer doing things that I think count as infidelity, so that I'm no longer doing things that I don't want to be doing. That's fine and great. But what we don't want to do is get lost in this sort of, oh my God, what I'm doing is bad and wrong, and I'm a terrible person, and I won't be able to live with myself until I stop what I'm doing, but it's already been going on for so long that I must be a total piece of shit human. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you may have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to say next. And if you do, you can say it with me. Ready? You can't shame yourself into making sustainable, positive changes. Self-acceptance is a far better motivator of change than self-reproach. So, to use an overused example, if you're married and you're having an affair and you feel really terrible about that and really terrible about yourself, giving yourself a hard time might enable you to, say, cut off contact with your affair partner for a week, or maybe even for a month, or maybe just for a few hours. But the point is not how long you manage to cut off contact with your affair partner for. The point is that cutting off contact with your affair partner for any length of time may not truly resolve your infidelity situation. Cutting off contact with your affair partner may mean that you technically stop cheating, at least temporarily, but it may not be a true resolution to your infidelity situation, and it may not even be a temporary course of action that you actually like. And that brings me to the third point about my philosophy that is really important for you to know about. My view is that your infidelity situation can be usefully regarded as a puzzle that you can solve. It may take some tinkering to figure out how to put a puzzle together, but it's totally doable. And looking at your infidelity situation in this way is very different from regarding it as this big, bad problem that has to be fixed. You can want to stop cheating without telling yourself you're a terrible person for cheating. And in fact, if what you want is to stop cheating, you may have to loosen your grip on the idea that you're a terrible person. You may have to embrace the idea that you're a human doing a human thing. And similarly, if what you want is to stay in a committed relationship and continue cheating, you are not going to get much enjoyment out of your choices if you believe that what you're doing is bad, or if you believe that you are bad for doing what you're doing. In order to derive any benefit from your choices, any enjoyment of your choices, you have to learn how to deal with your conflicting thoughts and feelings in a very conscious way. And that's a solvable puzzle. That's something that you can actually learn how to do. It's not this impossible, mysterious problem that is beyond the realm of human comprehension. The last thing I'll say about my philosophy is that I don't think infidelity situations have to be impossible to resolve or even all that complicated to resolve. When we're in the midst of an infidelity situation and it's our life and our relationships that seem like they're going haywire, it can, for all kinds of reasons, be really easy to get sucked into believing that our infidelity situation is very complicated indeed, and perhaps that it is actually impossible for us to deal with, or at least impossible for us to deal with in a way that we actually feel good about. Now, that's never as true as we think it is. When we're in the thick of it, when we're in the vortex of all of our seemingly complicated relationship stuff, this may seem really true, but it's not as true as you think it is. Yes, reckoning with your infidelity situation in a conscious, deliberate way may be challenging. Resolving it in a way that you feel good about may take some serious effort, and that effort may be comfortable at times, but it's totally doable and totally worth it. You just need the right tools for the job. And the coaching I provide and the approaches and practices that I teach you are the best set of tools I know of for successfully resolving an infidelity situation. Now, I want to be really clear that although I firmly believe that what I offer is excellent, and I firmly believe that investing in what I have to offer may be the best investment you ever make in yourself, if you don't like my vibe, if you don't like my approach, go find another person to help you and do it quickly. My wish for you is that you resolve your infidelity situation in a way that you feel amazing about, and that you get to love your love life and that you get to love your whole life. My wish for you is that in resolving your infidelity situation in a way that you love, you find that you have a lot more bandwidth available for all of the other things you care about doing in this one very precious lifetime of yours. That's what I care about. And you may need help to get there. You may need help to do that. So what I encourage you to do is find the help that's right for you sooner rather than later. If you have not yet found the kind of help that you need to resolve your infidelity situation in a way that you love, I encourage you to diligently and efficiently keep searching for the sources of help that you think are right for you, because your overall quality of life depends on it. Letting our challenges linger or letting our problems fester is a major energy suck. Yuck. Having said all that, let me now tell you more about how I can help you and how we can work together. The first way you can work with me is by purchasing the self-guided, do-it-yourself version of my program, You're Not the Only One. In the DIY version of You're Not the Only One, you get access to videos of me teaching you tools and concepts that will help you resolve your infidelity situation. You also get assignments to help you apply the specifics of what I teach you to your own life. All of this stuff is housed in an online portal, which you have access to anytime, anywhere, for as long as the program exists, which will be for a very long time, unless I get hit by a bus or something next week. I should probably stop saying that. I think I have already today talked about the possibility of me getting hit by a bus multiple times. And I might want to knock that off. Yeah. Okay. No more talking about getting hit by a bus. Anyway, when you purchase the DIY version of You're Not the Only One, you get access to the distillation of all of the wisdom and expertise I've gained from working with hundreds of clients to successfully resolve their infidelity situations. It's a super powerful set of teachings that are grounded in the belief that you absolutely can have the love life that you want to have. And that although getting from where you are now to where you want to be in your love life may take some dedicated effort, it is totally doable and totally worth the effort. Sometimes all you need is a good resource that you can return to again and again to make the changes that you want to make in your life. When I served in the Peace Corps in Zambia, somebody gave me a Pilates book at some point. I'd never done Pilates before, but I wanted some kind of exercise that I could do inside without attracting a bunch of curious onlookers. And I'd heard somehow that Pilates was really great, and somebody had a book about Pilates and they gave it to me, or I asked them for it, or something like that happened. And the book was great. It told me exactly what Pilates was. It helped me understand how Pilates was created. It helped me understand the benefits of Pilates. And it introduced me to this whole new way of exercising that I previously knew nothing about. And just learning all of that got me super excited to try all of the specific Pilates exercises that the book told me and showed me how to do. The pictures and descriptions of how to do the specific exercises were pretty good. And I started doing them every day, and I found that really beneficial. I made regular, dedicated use out of the information in that book. And as a result, I got tremendous benefit from it. Just one little Pilates book helped me so much at the time. And that's exactly the kind of experience you can have with the DIY version of You're Not the Only One. You purchase the materials. They're yours forever. And if you make use of the tools and concepts I teach you, they will help you. The other new thing I'm offering is the group coaching program / secret society version of You're Not the Only One. That includes all of the videos of me teaching you tools and concepts and all of the assignments that the DIY version of You're Not the Only One includes, but it also includes group coaching calls in which you can get coached by me and hear other people getting coached by me as well. The calls are held in a way that protects your privacy. We're not doing video conferencing, so you can anonymously get my help with the specific aspects of your unique infidelity situation. Sometimes when we're struggling with something, we want to be able to ask questions of someone who actually knows what they're doing and receive answers. We want to ask for and receive guidance from another human who can offer us help that is truly helpful. It's kind of like the difference between reading a book about Pilates and doing Pilates on your own, and then going to a group Pilates class with an actual teacher present. The teacher can help us if there's an exercise we don't understand how to do. They can offer us pointers that help us avoid injuries. They can help us refine our form so that we get more benefit from the exercises we're doing. And we also see the Pilates teacher giving other students feedback, and we learn from that too. That's how it is on group coaching calls. When you join the group version of You're Not the Only One, you can ask for coaching from me on group coaching calls, and you get to hear other people ask questions that may be very relevant to you and your experiences, even if their infidelity situation is a little or a lot different from yours. Sometimes we learn just as much, if not more, from the questions other people ask and the coaching they receive. Or, put differently, sometimes when we see the Pilates teacher correct someone else's form, we think, oh, now that exercise makes so much more sense to me. Or, oh, I needed that correction too. Now my back doesn't hurt anymore when I do that thing. Also, when we're in a group Pilates class, we may be inspired by the other students present. We may be motivated to work harder when we see other students working hard, and when there's a teacher coming around to bust us if we're slacking off. Some of us are totally capable of putting out a lot of effort with little supervision, but some of us really benefit from putting ourselves in a position to be accountable to others. So those are some of the reasons why joining the group coaching program version of You're Not the Only One can be great. Two important things I want to say before I go any further. The first is that whether you purchase the group coaching version of You're Not the Only One or the self-guided do-it-yourself version of You're Not the Only One, you get instant access to all of the materials in the online portal. Right? You can go to the services page of my website, mariemurphyphd.com/services, to hit the purchase button on both versions of You're Not the Only One. Now, this is kind of a big deal or kind of a cool thing because there are some coaching programs out there in which the online system gives you access to the content gradually. Like you get one new module every week or something like that. But in You're Not the Only One, you get all of the good stuff right away. And yay, instant gratification. Who doesn't like a little instant gratification? I sure do. And in addition to that, in addition to the instant gratification piece, having access to all of the course material right away means you can learn at your own pace. If you want to immerse yourself in my teachings, you can set aside a weekend and go through all the videos and all of the assignments and commit to making changes with ruthless efficiently. And you also have the option of taking a slow and steady approach. When you join the group coaching version of You're Not the Only One, all of that is true. But in addition to that, you can request coaching on the very next group coaching call after you join the program. Calls are held weekly, and the schedule for the month's calls is always announced in advance. So that's all important stuff. The instant gratification piece is one that I really wanted to stress. You get everything all at once you sign up. But in addition to that, I want you to know that if you've been listening along and you've been thinking, I just can't relate to all of this talk about Pilates, worry not. Although I've chosen to talk about Pilates, we could be talking about any practice of movement that requires attention to detail. And I think just about every practice of movement requires attention to detail. If you want to do Tai Chi, there are specific movements and specific ways of doing them. If you want to swing a golf club and actually hit the golf ball and get the golf ball in the hole, you've got to get your stance and your swing right. If you want to use your hands to put a basketball in a hoop, there are techniques you can learn to employ. Even walking can require some awareness and fine-tuning. So if the Pilates analogy isn't resonating with you, just think of a different athletic pursuit or a different form of movement here. In addition to the two versions of You're Not the Only One, there is, of course, still the option of working with me one-on-one. When we work together one-on-one, you've got all my focus on you and the specifics of your unique infidelity situation. You've got me teaching you the tools and concepts I teach, and You're Not the Only One, but I'm teaching them to you directly, and I'm helping you apply them directly to your unique infidelity situation. And I'm holding you accountable in a very direct way to making use of the tools and concepts I teach you. If what you want is for someone to hold you accountable to working hard and for someone to help you refine the efforts you are making to deal with your infidelity situation, then working with me one-on-one is a great idea. I will be your biggest cheerleader and your biggest supporter, and I will also call you on your bullshit. Having a one-on-one coach is very much like having a private Pilates lesson or a series of private Pilates lessons with a pretty tough teacher. It's like having a golf coach who takes your progress very seriously. If you want someone to hold you accountable to working hard, and you really want to refine your form and build strength and get golf balls in the holes, private Pilates lessons or golf coaching with the right teacher or the right coach will absolutely help you get there. If you want to derive as much benefit from doing Pilates as possible, and you want to do that efficiently, and you are willing to invest your time and effort and money, private Pilates lessons are the way to go, right? There are times when it's great to use a Pilates book to learn how to do Pilates on your own. And there are times when you need someone hovering over you, fine-tuning every movement you make. So how does it work when we work together one-on-one? How do you pursue that option, and what happens if you do? The first step is to schedule an introductory coaching session with me, which you can do through my website. And these introductory coaching sessions tend to go in one of two directions. If you have a really specific, narrowly defined question that you want to discuss, we can usually address that question so thoroughly during the 75-minute introductory session that you may not need any more help from me beyond that. Now, here's the thing. What should I do about all of this is not a specific, narrowly defined question. Do I want to leave my marriage? Maybe a specific question, but it isn't a narrow one. There are probably a lot of things you are going to need to consider in order to make that decision. So we're not going to be able to exhaustively answer questions like those in 75 minutes. On the other hand, sometimes people come to me for an introductory session and they say, I cheated on my partner once. I am as sure as I can be that I'm never going to do it again, and I want help deciding whether or not to tell my partner that I cheated. That is a specific, narrowly defined question, and that's the kind of thing we can probably answer conclusively in one session. Or sometimes people come to me and they say, I know I want to leave my spouse. I have decided to leave my spouse. And I know I want to tell them that I want a divorce without letting them know that I've been cheating on them. And I want you to help me figure out what to say when I have the breakup conversation. That's something we can probably take care of in 75 minutes. I want to say that's something we can definitely take care of in 75 minutes, but I shouldn't say that. There's always going to be an exception. We can drag any question out into a multi-session answer process. But if you're willing to be efficient, the kinds of narrowly defined questions I'm talking about are things that can exhaustively be addressed in 75 minutes. Here's another example. Sometimes people come to me and say, I've been involved with a married person for years, and they keep telling me that they want to leave their spouse, but they haven't yet. And I want to decide how much longer I'm going to wait and see if they actually leave their spouse. If you're truly ready to make a decision and stick to it, and you just need some help getting there, we can get you to a decision you feel great about in the introductory session. So in other words, sometimes the introductory session ends up being a single session in which we do a deep dive into a narrow slice of your infidelity situation. And I get emails from folks who I had one session with that say something like, remember that one conversation we had a year ago? Do you remember me? That conversation was so helpful. You totally helped me see things in a different way. And I walked away from that conversation feeling so much better. And I've made so many changes in my life since we talked. Things are so much better for me. And I have you to thank for that. Wow, right? One conversation can be really powerful, especially if we have a clear sense of what we want to accomplish in that one conversation. But often, when we are in the midst of a confounding infidelity situation, we do not know what we need. We do not have a clearly, narrowly defined question, and that is totally okay. More often than not, people come to me for an introductory coaching session and they know they want change, but they don't know exactly what they want to change and they don't know how to figure it out. And that is fine. That's a fine place to start from. And this is exactly what I can help you with. So what we do, if this is the case, is that we start to talk about the whole picture. We start to get a lay of the land. We talk about everything that's going on within your infidelity situation, what's great about it, what's not great about it, what you want and what you don't want, and what you think is possible, and all of the factual details that you consider relevant. And then I start to point out where I see opportunities for change. I start to suggest what needs to be prioritized. I begin to see what shifts you probably need to make in order for anything different to happen within your infidelity situation. And then we talk about whether or not it makes sense for us to continue working together. More often than not, we need to dedicate sustained time and energy to addressing our infidelity situations if we really want to make change. And so, if it makes sense, I offer new clients a package of 10-hour-long sessions after the introductory session. We meet once a week in order to build consistency and momentum towards change. If my schedule or the client's schedule makes it impossible for us to meet every single week for 10 weeks in a row, it's okay for us to move a session around here or there. But the whole point behind the way I work is to help you generate the consistency and momentum in your efforts that is needed for you to make change. The point of working with me is not to have an interesting conversation or an illuminating conversation every now and then and have that serve as a form of entertainment, right? And I'm not saying that in a judgy way at all. Having a really deep, insightful conversation with someone who is totally focused on you and totally interested in you and totally dedicated to helping you grow and evolve can be really fun and entertaining. But there's a difference between coaching for the sake of personal development as entertainment and coaching for the sake of taking radical responsibility for yourself and what you do about your infidelity situation. There can certainly be a component of excitement and entertainment to that for sure. But coaching for the sake of taking responsibility for yourself and the way you live is not just about entertainment. It's not just about the pleasure of having someone's focused attention on you. And then if we work together for 10 sessions, I teach you all of the things I teach you if you join, you're not the only one. But I teach you all of these things in a manner that is directly tied to your infidelity situation. We get clear on what the challenges you're facing look like. We get clear on where your opportunities lie and what we need to do to address your unique challenges and take advantage of your specific opportunities. And of course, we also address anything that's going on in your life that's relevant to your infidelity situation, right? Just because my primary objective is to help you resolve your infidelity situation in a way that you love, that doesn't mean I can't coach you on other important things that are going on in your life. Sometimes, don't take this and run with it. This is a sometimes thing. Sometimes our cheating is more a symptom of a different problem. Sometimes we hate our jobs and we don't know what to do about it. So it's so much more exciting to have an affair than to seriously consider changing careers. If that comes up, we will talk about it. But I'm not saying that that's what's going on with you if you are cheating. Let me be absolutely clear about that. It could be, but it isn't necessarily. Now, in a sense, this is exactly what I do with you if you join the DIY or the group version of You're Not the Only One. All the things that I do with you one-on-one, I also do with you, and you're not the only one. I just don't do it in the same way. We just don't work together in the same way. If you join the DIY version of You're Not the Only One, you're listening and watching me teach you and keep you accountable to your own transformation through videos. I tell you all the things I tell my one-on-one clients, but I tell you not through one-on-one conversations, but through video teachings. In the group version of You're Not the Only One, you get me talking to you through videos, but you also get to talk to me on group coaching calls. When we work together one-on-one, our relationship is, of course, closer and more interactive, but I share all of my wisdom and tools and stories and tactic and techniques and encouragement with you, no matter how you choose to work with me. So let's go back to the Pilates metaphor for a minute. It isn't necessarily better in any absolute way to have a private Pilates teacher than to learn how to do Pilates by reading a Pilates book and looking at the pictures in the book and then diligently doing the exercises the book teaches you how to do. When I was in my hotel room in Mongo, which is in the western province of Zambia, I could not have found a group Pilates class or a private Pilates teacher, no matter how hard I might have tried. So that Pilates book I had was perfect. Of course, my willingness to read the book and my willingness to do the exercises was part of what made it perfect. Then, some years ago, back when I had, I was going to say a real job, but what I really mean is a very different job than I have now. My office, when I had to go to an office, was pretty close to an awesome Pilates studio, awesome Pilates studio. And I went there for small group classes as often as I could. And it was great. It was so great. And I loved going there so much. Now, going to that studio for group classes isn't such a great option for me anymore because my favorite teachers don't teach there anymore. So it isn't worth it to me to go all the way across town. But one of my favorite teachers from that studio opened up her own studio, and I am in the process of setting up regular private lessons with her because I'm at the point where that's what I want. I want to work closely with an awesome instructor. I want really focused attention. I want to know when my form is bad. I want to know exactly how bad my form is, and I want someone to stand there and correct me on it over and over and over again. And I also want to be accountable to showing up at my scheduled appointments. Right? Sometimes doing Pilates by looking at a Pilates book is totally perfect. Sometimes group Pilates classes are the best. And sometimes you just want private Pilates lessons. These are all great ways of doing Pilates, but they're great in different ways. And so it is with getting coaching to help you resolve your infidelity situation. I've got 3 great ways you can work with me. So pick the one that's right for you right now and get started. So often, getting started is both the hardest and the most important part. So consider that if getting started on the project of dealing with your infidelity situation in a conscious, deliberate way seems really daunting to you, that's totally normal. If that's your experience, you're not the only one. And I can promise you that even if getting started seems scary or daunting or hard, you can do it. You really can say, yes, I am going to take a clear step towards dealing with my infidelity situation in a different way. I am going to start learning how I can approach my infidelity situation in a way that makes it simpler and easier for me to deal with. You can trust that if you're brave enough to get started, all things are possible from there. All right, everyone, that is it for today. If you're ready to resolve your infidelity situation in a way that's truly right for you, let's get to work. Head on over to the services page of my website, mariemurphyphd.com/services to get started. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great week. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me with Dr. Marie Murphy. Make sure to click subscribe to get updates on our latest episodes.